I am, of course, ADL Wargaming, and tonight I am joined, as always, by the legend that is Josh the Warhipster, who is with me tonight to talk SWAT goals, to talk announcements, to talk all things Warhammer. How are you, Josh?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you? I am also now live.
There we go.
One thing I think we should probably, once we're a well-oiled machine, we should have we should stagger our login so we can both do our intros and then drop each other in, and then when we're both ready, like all the pros do. I've got Philip Eagles is here. Good evening, sir. And Mr. Gwatkin Gaming is here too. Good evening to you, sir. Hope you are both very well.
Let me get your chat up as well, so I've got you.
Good evening, Maverick. Hello, Rachel. Rachel said hi to you, not to me. Sorry. I know. Yeah.
Hey, Rach. How are you?
I overstepped my boundaries on that one. Good evening, Dave. Hope you are well. Hope everybody's having a good time out there. It's the Sunday show. We're going to be working out with our squat goals, is what Adam told me.
I'll stand up right now. Here we go, and we'll do. You can't even see. I've got no room on this, but we'll do some squats. We'll get down, we'll get low, and then we'll squat. We'll get it going. We'll really work those quads.
Work those glutes and those quads. Good evening, Mr. Jonathan De Silva. Good evening, Mr. Boob. How are you, sir? How are you both?
Boob?
Philip says, I'm so happy about the squats. Did I mention them before? I don't think you've ever mentioned them, Philip. Not once. It's never come up before. Andrew Beggar's here, says, oh hi. Oh hi to you, sir. Alice says she's not staying if there's physical exercise required. That's fair enough. The squat is the fundamental posture of power, says Lord Biscuit the Tossable. Indeed it is. Lord
Biscuit is 100% right. Is 100% right. And just to give a quick shout out to Gwatkin Gaming for jumping into my stream and immediately going, for the first time ever, audio is good. There's no problems. It's actually working. I've even, for people who are watching my stream, we've got this shiny new background. It moves. It does things. It has particle effects. It's really cool. I'm really excited about it. I'm basically a technological idiot. I mean, I'm an idiot in other ways, but this is nice. I've got it working. So, welcome to everybody who is in my stream. And Liam Dempsey, who has just jumped in, has asked a vital question, which is, Adam, why isn't your trophy in Pride of Place? And I will explain this. My trophy is in Pride of Place. My trophy is, in fact, sitting right up there, and I'll get it.
You have a trophy? You have a trophy to share?
I have a trophy. So yesterday, I went, along with a number of other people who are subscribers to Liam's channel and members of DZTV, deploymentzone.tv as well. Go over, check it out if you're not already. Went to the Factorum down in Warminster and went to the inaugural DempseyCon. And at the DempseyCon, Liam and the lovely Luce, his wife, hosted a 40k quiz. And we were in teams of 4. My team was Sternguard Strategies. We're like Vanguard Tactics, but better. And we out-nerded all the other nerds, and I am the proud holder of a prize. We got this is really cool. It breaks into 4, right? It's like a jigsaw thing, so that all 4 of us could take home our own little prize. So I've got it, ladies and gentlemen. I have the authentic evidence that I am a sad git, and that I apparently know weirdly lots about 40k. But I will pose. What we could do, Josh, just quickly, we could ask both people in your chat and my chat maybe 1 or 2 questions from the quiz, and we'll see if it gets it right. I'll do an easier one, and I'll do a hard one.
Interesting.
People, please don't clip me saying I'll give you a hard one.
I've already done it, mate. Don't you worry. It's already clipped.
So, I'll give you the easy one first, and answers in chat, please, guys. So, what is the home planet of the Emperor's Children? The home planet of the Emperor's Children. So, answers in chat, please. Here we go. Let's give it a couple of minutes, and we'll do the hard question later. Andrew Begg says Jazzland in your chat. That's quite interesting.
Jazzland. Jazzland.
Not correct. I can definitively tell you, unfortunately, Andrew, it is not Jazzland.
Replace the A with the I, though, right?
Brom says who's jumping in my chat. Brom says France.
France.
And that will please your friend Quipster, our friend Alex, who insists that Fulgrim is in fact French, and that Fulgrim should be walking around sort of going, yes, I've cut the head off Ferus Manus, I'm not a happy boy, with a sort of cod French accent, like something out of Allo Allo. Which is
Andrew has explained further that it's where the Sound Marines come from, and you're very, very correct. Mr. Biltong Boob says Sexyland, and Lord Biscuit the Tossable says the Emperor's mum is where the Emperor's children come from.
Lord Biscuit's just like, yeah, the Emperor's mum, yeah. Magnus the Bread in my chat says he's literally just listens to Fulgrim, but he doesn't have any idea.
See, I do know it.
I think Liam can give the answer as well.
I do know it. I always my instinct, and I've just remembered it. My instinct is always to misspell it, and then it's the second time when I spell it right when I get it right. So I do know it. I'm not sure if I should drop it in the chat or if I should say it out loud.
Well, I think let's just give Liam a chance to answer, but otherwise I think you are allowed to say it out loud. And we will test the 40k knowledge. We could do this. We could do like a quiz. It'd be quite fun. Maybe not on stream, but
we could do a pub quiz.
Pretty much. So for anyone who has just joined in the last couple of minutes, jump in. We're just doing a quick refresh on your 40k knowledge based on the fact that I won a quiz yesterday. Look at this. This is the real quiz right here. This isn't throwing a kettle over a pub. This is a real quiz. And the question is. What is the home planet of the Emperor's children? I'll let you answer, Josh. I'll let you answer because Liam said we should let you answer. I think that's right. So let's go. What is it, Josh? What do you think the answer is?
So what I was saying, I always misspell it at first because I always want to call it chemist because I think chemist, but it's not chemist. It's chemos. Chemos.
We have a winner, ladies and gentlemen. I think I should hand this over right now. Yes, it is Chemos. Yes, absolutely right. It is Chemos. I can give you the really hard question, and we can see if anyone can answer it without Googling, which, given that we have no way of checking if they're Googling, frankly, all of you in chat can just Google this. And I got this wrong. I gave an alternative answer, which was a decent guess, but was actually completely wrong. The question is as follows, and we'll let this sort of stew in the background of chat. We'll let it mature like a fine wine.
Okay.
Question is, what was the only band that was ever signed to the short-lived Warhammer record label? That's right, Games Workshop had a record label. So yes, if you can give us the answer for that one, then you will win a prize of some sort. Genuinely, DM me and we'll sort something out because I think that's a really good question. So
that is an excellent question. That is an
Yeah.
excellent question. Yeah. That's a not many people are going to know this at all.
Exactly. So yeah, what was the only band signed to the short-lived Warhammer record label? Drop the answer in chat if you know. Otherwise, you've probably got the rest of the stream to go off and Google it and let us know.
Do you know who the most famous guest star was on the Only Band Records label played on it? Do you know who the most famous person to play on that record was?
Yes, I do. Yeah, because that little fact nugget was dropped as well yesterday, which is good.
Maverick says Guns N' Roses. That's pretty good. Andrew says the sound of people frantically Googling intensifies. Mr. Boob actually knows this. And Vilka Era is here. Hello, Vilka Era. How are you?
First person. Do you know what? Seriously, first person to answer in chat will win some sort of prize. I will sort that out. We're going to start doing that. Let's get some interactivity.
This is a prize from you, yeah, because I don't have any prizes to give.
Yeah. No, this is a prize from me. I'll send you a prize. We'll if you're in like some island territory somewhere that's like in the middle of the Pacific Ocean and you're watching, first of all, thanks for joining. Second of all, postage may have to be paid by you, but if you're in the UK, yes, I will post you something.
So yeah, Mr. Boob has dropped an answer. He says, well, I think I know it.
Huh?
He says, oh, rock, or something with rock in it, right. You are so close. You are one letter off.
Oh, so close.
So close. You are one letter off.
Well, look, let's come back to that, and obviously, if we do miss your answer, do shout at us in chat, and we'll come back to you. But are we all excited about? We mentioned it. It's in the title. I think we're all excited about squads. Except they're not called now.
He's just
Literally doing the alphabet. He's doing the alphabet. The prize is not that good, built on Boob. It's a signed photo of Jake from Vanguard Tactics. No, it's not. It'll be an actual prize. No. How excited are we for the squads?
I believe.
Pretty cool.
I believe that's not what they're called, is it, Adam? Can you give them their correct universal name?
Leagues of Votann.
Thank you. Oh, for a minute there, I thought you were going to have to look that one up, and I was like, you call yourself a Warhammer quiz expert, and you can't remember Leagues of Votann?
Yeah, I know. I think he looks really cool. He looks like he's wearing like little Gravis armor, the model they've previewed.
He does. There's a lot of Gene Stealer Cults references in the design work here, right down to the same color palette. So like the miners, sort of, I want to call it like it would be the carapace, for example. It's very close. It's very, very, very similar. It doesn't have any of the same ribbing that the Gene Stealer Cults Neophyte hybrids have on, but it looks like a heavier set version of that, which would make sense, as the Leagues of Votann are somewhat renowned for their scientific acumen, and I suspect probably in the Forge as well. You know, it is a Dwarden concept from Games Workshop that I don't think will be forgotten with these guys. There's a lot of very interesting design elements within the model. I'm very, very interested by them. You can see, like, on the head, for example, it looks very, very Dwardy, but also there's kind of elements of, like, if you took the Ogryn heads and shrunk it right down, it's very, very interesting. If you look at the distribution of the features, it's very highly detailed, which is very, very exciting. He's also on the picture that we've got. It looks like he has a bionic foot.
Yes, yeah. He's like kind of, because some people said he's got very thin ankles, you know, which is fair. But he's wearing like big trousers. He's got his like pantaloons on. I've had some people join in chat, Castellan and Ginger Steve who were at yesterday at the Dempsey Con, and welcome guys. Good evening. Thanks for joining us. And you, Dats and Des as well. And Dats and Des, I would say, was on the winning team. He was part of Sterngard Strategies. So Dats and Des, absolute legend. Helping us with the quiz victory. And what's happening, what you've missed, guys, is we were just dropping some of the questions from the quiz. None of you were allowed to answer because you were there into the stream just to see if people could get them. And I will say, just before we go back to talking about squats, we have a winner. We have a winner of the prize. Because I asked the question from Liam's quiz, which was, what was the first or the only band that was on the short-lived Warhammer record label, because it's a great question, and I said that whoever dropped it in either my chat or Josh's chat would win a prize, and I'm going to be true to my word, and the winner is Biltong Boob, absolutely right, with D-Rock. D-Rock.
Yeah.
D-Rock were the band that was signed to the record label. I will say, just to recommend some other people in the hobby as well, even though we like to plug our own YouTube channels, Snipe and Wib. If you've not seen Snipe and Wib, go and check them out on YouTube. They have actually done an excellent video on the Warhammer record label, as well as a whole bunch of other like GW nostalgia, and I love their content, so do go and check them out. They're really, really, really good.
Do you know what the name of the album was?
This was the bonus point, and I don't know the name of the album.
The name of the album was Oblivion.
Nice, there we go.
Do you know what the cover art was?
Yes, wasn't the cover art the was it the Crimson Fists thing with the
Close. It's the
it was the box art with the picture of the guy that looks like Sylvester Stallone. Not Sylvester Stallone.
It's the same box art that they used on the Epic Space Marine, the Epic game, with the Space Marine that looks just like Sylvester Stallone on it.
No, it's not Sylvester Stallone. It's from the gangster
Al
movie.
Pacino, Scarface.
Al Pacino, say hello to my little friend. You know.
Yeah.
Evening Heretic Dave in my chat. As you can see, we're just talking about quiz questions. The answer I gave, again, we will get back to squats, guys, don't worry, and other announcements. The answer I gave was actually Bolt Thrower. And Bolt Thrower were a band that used like Warhammer lore stuff in their music, in their titles for their songs, and their cover art they just took the famous Crimson Fist picture with them all sort of piled up where the guy's holding the orc head. They actually used that, so that was my answer. But as Liam absolutely correctly pointed out, they were never signed to the Warhammer Records label. They just used the Warhammer kind of GWIP effectively for their music. So again, this is all covered in there's a good Snipe and Whip video on this. Go and check it out if you're interested after the stream, because it is really good.
I should just mention thank you so much, Castellan, for becoming a member. That's very, very, very kind of you. Welcome to the gang. Make sure to join us on the Discord. You'll have a lot of fun there. Sebereth is here. He says, evening gents, what accent would the squats have? Well, traditionally the squats being a Dwarden race, and I'm saying Dwarden because you know that's the in-universe Age of Sigmar term for a dwarf. But the kind of the typical thing is that they have a Scots accent. They maybe come a little bit further down to being like Carlisle or even just a little bit further to Newcastle. But typically they have a Scots accent.
Well, I mean, I'm John Rhys Davies obviously is Welsh, who was played Gimli in Lord of the Rings, and I thought his sort of North Wales kind of quite gravelly, they say there are no dwarf women, like that kind of works as well. I think there's a lot of regional UK accents that will work. I will just give a shout out to Ginger Steve in my chat who's come up with a very good pun. He said, describing D-Rock's use of the artwork, he said, "That was an epic piece of artwork." Nice.
Excellent. Well done.
Steve, if you're a DZ TV person, you're in the chat, check out Ginger Steve, because he's a celebrity in and of himself, and he has extremely bright hair, shall we say. That's a reference to the quiz yesterday for anyone who was there.
Rez has said that we now have to conduct the rest of the stream in Scottish accents. Now, whilst I would be willing to give that a go, Rez, I also really don't want to offend anyone, which I would.
Yeah, I don't. Oh, I would. It would be a terrible idea.
Rich is also saying that he's excited for a new faction, plus it's classic GW to release a new faction when they haven't even sorted the game out, like maybe fix the existing factions first, lol. I kind of get where you're coming from, buddy. I suspect we won't see the Leagues of Votann for a little while. They're probably about 6 months out, I would say, 6 to 8 months. And we haven't even had all of our codexes out yet, because there's a couple of very big important ones that have not dropped yet. But I totally get what you mean. I've got a Grey Knight on my screen before me. These are for Rich. Yeah, they're in a little bit of a tough place at the moment, the old Grey Knights.
Yes, yeah. They are. I think it's good to see a new faction. It's always cool, it expands the universe that a little bit more. Although, nice to see a retro callback as well. And I hope, if people know anything about squats, they had all these very cool vehicles in Epic. They had land trains. Yeah. They were big on like trikes in Rogue Trader as well. That was their big thing. They were like a trike and bike army, lots of vehicles. So I hope they kind of lean into a little bit of that, and we get some kind of vehicle stuff, a lot of like heavy machinery. As Watkin Gaming in your chat rightly says, it is just more biomass for the hive mind to consume. So
I don't want to talk about Tyranids.
Not that I'm biased.
I don't want to talk about Tyranids. I'm genuinely worried. We had a little. We had a brief chat about them, didn't we? Because the codex is more or less completely out there.
Yes, it is. So I did have the pleasure of playing a test game with Jake from Vanguard Tactics. His idea about put that beautiful thing down, you.
Well, I forgot to turn the stream on whilst holding it. For those of you who are asking if I'm going to do a tutorial on this model, yes. Yes, I am. Here it is. The Avatar of Cain.
One of the people who asked the question whether he's going to do a tutorial, and I said it will be coming soon.
Yes, it will be coming very, very soon. basically, I have to finish this guy for Rich, and then that's the Grey Knight's half of Hexfire done. And what you're going to see this week, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who are interested, I'll give the stream a sneak preview, because you do like your sneak previews, and because they're over here in the photography bay. We are going to be doing, this week, there will be a video, and I will go onto the top-down camera. There will be a video on how to paint this guy, the Nemesis Dread Knight. So there's that.
So, interrupt you, Josh. People on my stream, you're about to get very weird because I'm going to put a window up so you can see what Josh is showing off. So just give me 2 seconds, but it's going to look a bit weird for a minute while I shrink this down so you can see it. I'm going to cut cameras off those.
So that tutorial is coming this week. For all your Dread Knight needs, or your Dread Knight Grandmaster needs, which is very cool. If you want to see how to do this base, you can. I've already got a video for that. It's called the Arcane Wasteland base. And yeah, that sword, man. Check that out.
That's cool. That is very cool. Richie's going to be very happy with his very shiny Grey Knights.
I don't want to blow my own trumpet, but you know that's all done with contrast paint. So you know. Well,
funny enough, Hofspring 40k, good evening, in my chat just came in and said, I love Warhipsters in contrast videos on Insta. So, you know, check him out. Get on the channel, subscribe, like, because you'll get more of this wonderful, wonderful painting content. And I will say, Ginger Steve has had a great observation on the addition of squats, which he says, GW don't need to fix the game. Don't be stupid. It's like a failing relationship. Just add a baby to fix it. Works every time. So what's our GW's baby, apparently?
But yeah, so we have that tutorial, the Dread Knight, and then the other tutorial, he's not quite finished yet, just because I haven't finished the base, is going to be this guy. So just a normal Strike Marine, and again, same thing on the sword. We're going how to do it big and how to do it small, so you'll be able to do your entire Grey Knights army with the techniques that we're going to be doing this week. But after that, the week after, I'm hoping that if I have a very, very nice productive week, that you will see a tutorial for the Avatar of Cain, and I'm also hoping to do a tutorial for the Shining Spears as well.
Ooh,
so that'll be a very Eldari heavy week. So for anyone who's interested, the other thing that I've got downstairs is the Corsairs. So all of your Eldari needs will be met in due course. I'm probably going to end up doing the whole of the Warzone Nachmund, Kilting Nachmund box, because there's some really cool terrain in there as well. Might be my first airbrush tutorial, that one. I haven't decided yet.
Ooh, nice. We're moving into the new airbrush realms of airbrush Warhipster.
Well, I suspect what will happen is I'll get the kits out and I'll look at it and I'll go, nah, it doesn't need an airbrush. As it so
Jedi,
often happens.
But Jedi, thank you for joining us. He says, glad I picked one up then. Need to use contrast for Khorne demons soon. I was going to say, well, Josh has his tutorial on the bloodletters. And I've seen them in person, as I've seen many of Mr. Warhipster's models in person, and yes, they are very impressive. But also, you know, I think quite straightforward to do, and they look, you know, the effect you get at the end of it is really nice. So if you are Jedi, if you are looking for your Khorne demons, go and check out Josh's channel and have a look at the tutorials on there. And I will say, I mean, I've got first-hand evidence. So hang on.
Well, I've got 3 Khorne Demons tutorials. I've got Skull Taker, Khorne Blood Letters, and of course the Bloodthirster of Insensate Rage. There's more I want to do, but it's just finding the time to sit down and do some Blood Crushers, for example.
Look at this. Look at this. Look at that. How is that That's Helbrecht.
Oh, I can't see it. Right.
This was. Oh, sorry. Is it not showing up yet? This is Helbrecht. This is like, I mean, he's just beautiful. And Josh was very kind. He gave this to me as a gift alongside I mean, look at this banner. Like, it's just nuts. I don't know how you do it. Like, my models, you know, I think my painting's all right. It does the job, but yeah, you're definitely something to aspire to. This is the Castellan. So if you're a Black Templar fan, what's on my stream right now is a big bonus. And Ginger Steve asks, where can we find Josh's channel? It is at youtube.com/Warhipster.
That's the one.
So go and Warhipster, go and subscribe. Become a member if you want some, or a Patreon member if you want some early content, early access content as well. So do go and check that out. Obviously, I thoroughly encourage that if you want to become a bit more of a contrast wizard.
Yeah. So I've been asked a question by Castellan in the chat. He said, "Well, I'm not." He said earlier on he wrote phonetically in Scottish. I'm not going to try it because I am just going to offend everybody. Philip Eagle says, "I imagine a lot of people will be jumping on a squat land train, but I've been waiting 30 years for this." Yeah, Philip, you deserve to be first in the queue to get as many squats as you like. Andrew Begg says, "I'm excited for squats. Very little in 40k excites me. I really like GSC until I realise I need about 700 of them squats. Look great and will hopefully be less hoardy." Castellan, his question was, Reet, what's the crack tonight? The crack tonight is I'm going to try and finish off this Grey Knight Strike Marine. Yes.
I'm going to announcements and squats and various other things. Actually, there is one more serious topic I would like to cover, which we can talk about as well.
Yes, Maverick's question is, what kind of force do you think the dwarves will be, horde-based or elite, etc.? I suspect they'll probably strike a middle ground, kind of somewhere like Tau or Admech. I think you'll probably be able to run them as any, I would suspect. But as you know, as either you could run them as full dwarf or whatever. But I suspect there'll be some sort of mortar type unit that people will gravitate towards with all that out of line of sight shooting, because you know, just seems.
I will say, Dan said, I'm sure his chat having a review of them, because I've just realised, obviously, on your screen, it's actually my slightly more rubbish camera that's on my Mac for some reason that's being piped to you rather than my sort of nice HD one. But I will sort of hold up for this. I don't know how clear it will come through my your Hellbrecht that you painted for me, because he is beautiful. But for the full effect, obviously, go and watch the video on Josh's channel.
I was about to say, if you want to see how to do Hellbrecht, you can check out the video. And actually, very recently, I have just finished the Emperor's Champion as well. So that's all of the Black Templars characters for now. The Castellan, Hellbrecht, Grimaldus, and the Emperor's Champion. So if you're anybody who's looking to start a Black Templars force and you want to do some centerpiece models, it's crazy how many centerpiece models they have, the Black Templars. You know, Hellbrecht being a classic example of it, but Grimaldus and his retinue, definitely a sort of centerpiece to add to any kind of aspiring crusader, and the Emperor's Champion himself, of course. But yes, they are now all done. The only thing I haven't done really that's new is the Neophytes and the Sword Brethren, but probably won't be doing a video on those guys just because I've done Black Templars, Intercessors before, and then from the rest of the videos, I'm sure you can figure it out. But, you know, if the demand is higher, we'll end up doing it anyway.
I was going to say, there is a... Philip Eagle says, I'm hoping we see some leather long-coated Lemmy biker dwarves. Anything would be good for me. That's pretty cool. I agree. I like we see some biker dwarves. I was going to touch, just briefly, before we go back to being much less serious about everything, on a slightly more, not a serious topic, but something I saw today, and something that I've seen people talking about on sort of Twitter today, in terms of 40k and about the squats. So if I may, the one thing I have seen is quite a few people being, or not a minority, but a vocal minority, being like relentlessly negative about them for zero reason. You know, I've seen a couple of videos already that have gone up about like why squats will be rubbish, or why Games Workshop is going to ruin squats. And it's quite heartening, actually, to see that a lot of the reaction... I don't know what people think about that in chat, but it's quite heartening to see a lot of the reaction to it has just been like, oh, for God's sake, just give it a rest. Like, can we... You know, it's fine to be critical of, like, you know, as you said earlier, if you know, they should probably fix the game or release all the codexes before they announce something new. Although, that said, you know, as you say, I think it will be a while before they come out and actually are released in the world. But, like, it'd just be nice to have one weekend or something where we don't just have videos being like... You know, oh, best thing ever. You're ruining the hobby. Like, oh, it's really cool. It's like an old retro thing that people are excited about. But yeah, I don't know. Sorry, that was my moment of like, nah. Because there's reasonable criticism. You know, there's reasonable. That's fine. You can be critical of GW. You can be critical of anything. You can be critical of any organisation, right?
Apart from me, because it will hurt me. But don't be, you know.
Apart from critical of Warhipster, don't be critical of Warhipster. But you can be critical of anything that GW does, obviously. But like, when it's not reasonable, when it's just stuff like that, when it's like they've announced one model, they've announced a range, they have shown you one model, and your immediate reaction is, I'm gonna go off and make some content, which is, this is the worst thing ever. They've ruined the hobby. This is how it's going to be bad, and it's like, come on, guys, can we just give it a chance? Can we give it a go? Like, this should be fun. The hobby should be fun. We're supposed to have fun. It's actually funny because it's something my other half says to me all the time when I get annoyed about painting something. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna finish that bloody Morlock tonight or something. She's like, you are supposed to be enjoying this, right? And I feel like it's that on a kind of macro scale. And I know the algorithm. I mean, my channel is tiny. I know the algorithm on YouTube certainly lives off of negativity. It likes clickbait. Look, I get it. If it's your job, your income, there is sense in kind of leaning into that to kind of drive views and stuff. But it's just like, oh, can we just be positive and happy about things? I don't know. Maybe I'm miserable. I will say hello, Kataro. Thank you for joining us, and hi, Eddie, who was also on the Team of Victory. I'll hold it up there because you probably can't see it. Your viewers probably can't see it on their chat. He was on the Team of Victory at the quiz as well. So hello, Eddie. Thank you for joining us this evening. We are talking about announcements, squats, and anything you want us to talk about, really.
So Castellan says some of the reasons that they're mad is because GW just nuked them for no reason, and how they think it's Primaris 2.0 again. I know the reason why the squats didn't get I think it was a second ed codex or third ed codex. I know why it went away. It was because they were trying to write it. If you look it up, there is an interview with the guys who wrote all the codexes at the time, and one of them said, we were trying to write it, and it just didn't make any sense. And so, like, we just decided that, like, it wasn't going to be good enough, and it didn't fit with our story at the time that we were trying to tell. So they ended up not doing it, but they put it on the back burner and said, when we get the inspiration to make it so that it will fit with everything, then it will 100% happen. Clearly it hasn't clicked until now. So it's interesting, because in many ways they kind of QA'd themselves out of doing a book, which is really interesting. I thought at the time when I read it, because, you know, they occupy a favourite place in the sort of Games Workshop lexicon, as it were. Like, you know, there's three things I always think of what people seem to constantly shout about wanting. It's the squats, it is a plastic Thunderhawk, and it is the lion. And the thing people seem to want is they want the lion riding a plastic Thunderhawk that's full of squats, which, you know, I can vibe with.
The wardrobe joke there.
Maverick says, as a BA player, we are terrible at the moment, but it's a hobby. New models, brilliant, more to paint. Absolutely. Katara says they should bring out Skaven in the 40k. In my opinion, I agree with you.
I've seen a few people saying that Space Skaven or something similar, and you know what? Yeah, fine. Let's have more Xenos stuff, like whatever.
I think Skaven really would fit with 40k. I think they absolutely would fit with 40k, because, you know, they are. I mean, in Age of Sigmar at the moment, they are part of the pantheon of chaos. They are, you know, they occupied the space that Slaanesh left when Slaanesh was imprisoned by the Eldari. Not the Eldari, sorry. The Elven gods. Alice has asked, why are they called squats? The reason they're called squats is because they are squat of stature. That's why.
Yeah, they're abhumans who are shorter, basically.
Yeah.
But I think Games Workshop have sort of realised that probably calling them squats is a little bit, politically incorrect, shall we say. So they've gone with the, to be fair, much cooler sounding Leagues of Votann, which is how I'm choosing to pronounce it. I will say in my chat there has been a horrendous accusation, a dastardly accusation against my person and the persons of Datsun Des and Seb and Eddie who were on my team, which is from Dave B. He said we cheated in the quiz and we copied the answers of the team, the Northern Monkeys. And I will say that we did not copy the answers of the team, the Northern Monkeys. Dave, I challenge you, and I will tell you why we didn't copy their answers. And this is what we got wrong as well, because when asked the question, what is the overwhelmingly main thing that Imperial agri-worlds produce according to the law, they gave the answer, which, to be fair, I actually think was reasonable, which is baked beans. So, if you're a fan of baked beans, the Imperium, as defined by the Team Northern Monkeys at DempseyCon, is a wonderful place to live. If you're not a fan of baked beans, perhaps less so.
What is the answer to that question?
Apparently it's corn. It's corn. We put grox, because they always talk about grox, right? Like when they talk about corpse starch, which is obviously made dead stuff. But grox meat is always talked about all the time, and a grox, I think, is a sort of space cow, basically. So we went with grox, and that was wrong. It's corn. It's a very prosaic answer. It's corn that they produce. Not the cool corn, not the Chaos God, just regular old Nebraska corn.
They do still call them squats in Necromunda, which is interesting. But, yeah.
They do.
That's why they're called squats, Alice.
Is it the two? Is it in Necromunda? Is it the two little twins who are the squat characters?
I think so.
Or
I don't know enough about them to be able to give you a definitive answer.
So Depths Walker says, I'm surprised they didn't go with the Demiurge name for the new squat faction. I think that's because Depths Walker, the Demiurge, or Demiurge, whatever, however it's spelled, I think they are a separate sort of alien race that are very similar in kind of like, they're like traders, but they're part of the Tau, or they certainly interact with the Tau Empire. Because I think if you've played the like Battlefleet Gothic games, there are like Demiurge ships maybe in that. I don't know. I may be the Armada game. I mean, I may be completely wrong. People just let us know in chat. But yeah, the Demiurge ones were part of the Tau, I believe.
Do you know what I'm mad? I'm mad that it's the Leagues of Votann and it's not the Hrud. No, I'm joking.
you just get a... Well, look here. I'll make you a Hrud right now out of this blob of blue tack. I'll literally just hang on.
This could be Mr. Biltongboom's prize.
An authentic GW Hrud.
What was Rez's question? Alice is asking me something.
So I've made a Hrud. I don't know if people can see that. He's got some eyes and a little mouth, and I'll hold it up to this camera as well. Hope you can see that. Probably not. But I've made a Hrud. There you go, Biltong. That's your prize, mate.
Alright, so Rez is saying, for a newish person to the hobby, what are squats? What they do? What's their purpose? Where do they fit? So they much like with the Ogryn, they are an abhuman mutant sector of the Imperium. However, unlike the Ogryn, they are very, very clever, and so they form their own societies, and they generally occupy roles that are more suited to kind of engineers and scientists and armorers and all this kind of thing. And they have, as we saw in the article, there is the Leagues of Votann now, but they have kind of created their own sort of little nation that isn't so closely governed by the superstition of the Imperium. So it's going to be very interesting to see where they're at now. They were kind of almost like a kind of an alternative to the AdMech in a way, because that's kind of what they specialize in. The Ratlinks, I think, are a form or part of the Squats kind of mythos.
They're another abhuman, aren't they? They're like another
abhuman. I can't. It gets very, very confusing because the ratlings are closer to sort of halflings than they are dwarf. But yeah, they kind of occupy a very interesting an interesting kind of corner of the lore. But it's going to be the codex is going to reveal a lot more than we ever knew before. It's kind of all been. Their first book was, I think it was first or second ed. I can't remember. But like back then, there wasn't this much.
They were an OG Rogue Trader thing. They were first edition and epic. I will say the reason, by the way, the lore reason why they are small is because they lived on planets that were close to the galactic center, which had higher gravity and loads of minerals. So they became shorter and started mining things. Not at all like fantasy dwarves. Completely different original idea. But yeah, that was the sci-fi explanation for why originally they were normal humans or humans of average height, and they settled on these worlds that were tough and had strong gravity, and they over time they sort of shrunk, and they were also living underground as well because these planets were quite harsh places to live. So again, they became little itty bitty people who had really cool technology.
Yeah, they kept according to the article, they kept most of their stuff from Old Night. So they've got some
age.
Yeah, they've got some interesting toys that are downright heretical, is what the article said. So it's going to be very interesting to see what space they occupy within the 40k universe from this point onwards.
Yeah, so I've been asked a quick question by Dave in my chat, which is how did my game versus Mr. Imprisoned VT Jake from Vanguard Tactics. Again, go check out Vanguard Tactics. Jake's a lovely human being and an excellent 40k player, and he played me yesterday with his games workshop with his Gene Stealer cults. Different G for my GSC rather than GW. To answer your question, Dave, in terms of how the games went, or how the game went, the Hive Fleet turned up. The lore behind this was the GSC. They'd had their uprising. They'd won on the planet we were on. They had called out to the Star Gods. The Star Gods had turned up, and basically they'd gone, oh bollocks, this is not what we were expecting. The psychic conditioning had evidently worn off, and the Hive Fleet did what the Hive Fleet does best, and we turned them into soup. It was actually a very interesting game, and it was a lot closer than it looked because I was actually using the new linked rules that are going on pre-order next weekend because they're out there. We wanted to get a test game in, and it was an interesting game. And the GSC are very tricksy, but the brute force, particularly in the psychic phase of the Tyranids, is it's a lot. And I mean, Mr. Gwatkin Gaming is in the chats, and I will say, Mr. Gwatkin Gaming, in terms of the mortal wound output that you and I were theorising about how much you could get out per turn, yeah, I think we said on average comfortably 27. Realistically, probably higher than that. Probably a good, heading into upper 30s and 40s if everything goes off, which most of the time it will. So yeah, that was an interesting one. But yes, I will do more stuff on the Tyranids as and when the new codex, once it goes on pre-order. I'm probably going to put some more content on Outlook, so hopefully I'll have some time this week. And Dave was very kind. He says, I've got to say your Nid fleet looked lovely. That's very kind of you. My Nid fleet doesn't have a name yet, and I actually ran a competition at Winter Warfare in the London Wargaming Guild for people to... sorry, not Winter Warfare. What am I talking about? That's a serious competitive thing. What did I do it at? It was at Fun and Fluff. For people to name my Hive Fleet and win a prize. I still have all of your entries, people who entered that, but I welcome suggestions. DM me, comment on YouTube, let me know what you think my Hive Fleet should be called, and I will at some point pick a winner. I might do it on the date at which the codex actually comes out. I will formally, so 17th of April I would think that'll be, I will formally name my Hive Fleet, and the winner will be sent a prize. So do enter, DM me on Instagram. I'll put a post up on it as well, you can comment on there, and you can also drop a comment on my YouTube channel, although please like and subscribe to my channel. She's very sick. Yeah.
Alice is asking for #justice for Rich. I'm so sorry, Rich. I will show the appropriate amount of regret and contrition to you for the next 3 to 6 days.
As you should.
As I should.
I mean,
we're talking, so Mr. Watkins says, isn't the Salamander's home world high gravity too? Yes, it is. It's a punishing, awful place that's full of tectonic activity, where the ground is always shifting and awful things happen to everyone all of the time. But everyone there's a bro, so it's cool. Naked, yes, Rich. I will show regret to you naked. He also says, Rich says he remembers the squats having a limited fast attack. Yes, they were quite slow and purposeful, I believe was the general description of them. And he says, depends on how much you invest into it. If you go full psychic, you don't have much else. Plus, full psychic can be stopped by screen/hordes. It's going to be very interesting.
Right.
Castellan says Mark III Iron Armor came about because the Crusade versus Scots before Horus Heresy came about, because war against the Scots. There you go. That's why we got Mark III Iron Armor.
There we go. Look, come to our stream, you learn something. We do a bit of 40k lore education, because people in the community know all sorts of like weird, obscure little things about where particular bits and bobs come from, because it's so rich, the lore on this. It's always worth them.
Tidbits, I believe, is the technical term.
Tidbits, absolutely right. So thanks for that, Castellan. That was awesome. And yes, Dave B says he hopes that squats are vehicle heavy, and Castellan said they had bikes and buggies. They certainly did bikes, buggies, and in Epic they had the land train, they had airships of a kind, and they had lots of sort of big artillery weapons as well, so they were quite heavy on that. So hopefully with this announcement they've said, they have access to pre like Age of Darkness, old, ancient tech. We might see a bit of that as well, which I think will be really cool, and will only encourage people to jump in and maybe collect them.
As long as they have pre Age of Darkness weapons, and it's not just they've got guys with plasma guns.
Yeah, maybe we'll see, maybe we'll see lots of Volkite. That can't possibly go wrong, but something like that.
It makes me mad that
we are.
Volkite was supposed to be extremely rare, and now it just isn't.
Yeah, but that's like, I think that's always one of those things, isn't it? With and people in chat, let us know what you think of this. But I always think you do when you're playing the tabletop game, particularly, if you're doing narrative, maybe you want to stick with those stringent rules. But I do think it's an interesting one that like to take a competitive, even a Space Marine army, right? And Space Marines aren't top of the competitive meta at the moment by any means. In fact, they're a long way from the top of the meta. Ultramarines are sitting on a 30% win rate at the moment. Sorry, Gilliman. But the even stuff like Redemptor Dreadnoughts, right, which are like the brand new Dreadnought. Dreadnoughts shouldn't necessarily be in every battle, right? They're still rare. They're still a rarity. They're still like a sort of relic of the chapter in some ways. And obviously then, but that's before we even get to Leviathans and Contemptor Dreadnoughts, which are meant to be like the rarest of the rare. But, every army has one, invariably. Not every army. There are going to be people in chat screaming at me being like, I don't use Dreadnoughts. What are you talking about? But every army has them, so it's interesting. So I think you have to abandon that. Otherwise, we'd have battlefields with one custodian, or no custodians, actually, more accurately, because they are so rare.
I have actually interesting that you mention win rates, because I had a mild bet with a friend of mine. I said I bet to because you shared a graphic, didn't you, that Ines Wilson posted about win rates.
Yes, yeah.
Discussing the similarities or total lack thereof between 40k and Age of Sigmar.
And Age of Sigmar. Yeah.
Now, when I looked at that graphic, I was like, okay, so scientifically then, Age of Sigmar's the better game.
Ooh.
Scientifically, it is, because
it's a lot more balanced. We have the a lot more balanced.
Well, so we always talk about this game is bad because of the imbalance, right? So if there's balance, then that makes it good, right? So my bet was that I said, even faced with this, that Age of Sigmar is a more balanced game, which means it's more competitive technically, because it means anybody can compete a lot easier. Even in the face of this, that I could go round to a bunch of you and say, so faced with this data, you would say then that Age of Sigmar as a game is technically better. And I said, my bet was that all of you would say, no, 40k is still better, despite the massive swings in competitive play, as it were. And I would like to get your thoughts on that, because if I say to you, Age of Sigmar is a better game, what is your response then?
My response is to be honest, which is to say, I've never played Age of Sigmar properly, so I don't know. For me personally, is it a better game for me? I don't know. Is it a better game by the metric of balance? Yes, I will happily say that, because it is more balanced. Does that mean it is a better game overall than 40k? I don't think. I would say no, but I would not say that because I think Age of Sigmar is a worse game. I think it's just because they're different. They're two different things. If you want your fantasy, go Age of Sigmar. If you want your guns, you go 40k. And they are inevitably going to be different. Because I know there is shooting in Age of Sigmar, and I know there are some armies that have been problematic in Age of Sigmar because of their shooting being very oppressive, at least. That is my understanding from you. But, when every army is packing heat in 40k, except, I don't know, maybe like World Eaters or other sort of very assault-oriented armies, it's going to give a different game style. So I think you can't say one is better than the other, like, scientifically. All you can do is you can say one is more balanced than the other. Does that mean that right now Age of Sigmar is probably more enjoyable to play at a competitive level? Yeah, absolutely. I'll definitely say that. Because the problem we've got in 40k at the moment, and again, despite I sound like a hypocrite because I was saying about don't be negative, but I would say this falls under the reasonable criticism of Games Workshop, of the competitive game. And obviously, again, with the caveat that the competitive 40k game is a tiny part of the overall community of 40k, and you do not have to play competitively. But the problem we have at the moment is, because of Harlequins in particular, Custodes and Tau, also were the problem, and now Harlequins have come back on top. Have come out on top of that, even of S-tier armies. We have a situation where people will, even with a nominally quite good army, that they've thought about, they know how to play, will turn up at a tournament, stick it down on the table, be opposite Harlequins, and just go, I've lost this. We've not rolled a dice, and I've lost. And that, I won't say that should never happen. Sorry, I'll just finish it. I won't say that should never happen, because there are going to be some armies. If you design your army in a certain way and you go up against an army which just counters it, there are going to be some games where you just go, on balance, I've probably lost this. But I'll give it a go. I can get some points, right? But I don't think there should ever be a situation where it doesn't matter what you've done. It doesn't matter what army you've got. You turn up, you put it down, and you go, yeah, I've lost this. I know I cannot win. I do not stand a chance. That's bad. That's bad for the game. And it also means the top of the competitive meta becomes really boring. And there was that picture, I don't know if people have seen this, I think I popped this on Instagram, I sent it to you. There was that picture from Adepticon of like two Harlequins against each other. And it's like, there are like, 20 plus Void Weavers on the table. And they're all painted the same colour. They're all airbrushed in 3 colours of like pink, purple, and a slightly different shade of purple. Right? They were so similar, these armies. People haven't seen this. Go on to Google and have a look for it. They had to put dice in the back of a bunch of the Void Weavers for one player, so they could actually tell the difference. Not, of course, that they ever really interacted with each other, because they didn't need to. They just shot at each other for ages. And I was just like, that's a bit depressing, isn't it? So yes, I think Age of Sigmar at the moment is the better, but more balanced game. I think Depths Walker has a good point in my chat. He says, more balanced games are not better necessarily. Chess is the most balanced war game in the world, and that doesn't mean I'll play it instead. Which is a fair point. Again, we are coming at this from a very competitive angle.
Well, so yeah, that is my point. Is we talk back and forth about kind of not attitudes, but attitudes is probably the simplest word to think about it. Of why do you play Warhammer 40,000? I play because I really like playing competitive Warhammer. So, on the face of it, at this current juncture, if you like playing competitive Warhammer, Warhammer 40,000 is not the game for you. Warhammer Age of Sigmar is the game for you, because it's a more balanced game, because that's what competitive Warhammer should be, right? My view is that we shouldn't be playing competitive Warhammer at all, because,
all Land Raiders all the time,
it should be all Land Raiders all of the time, because, Land Raiders are cool. But that's my point, is because I don't think there is such a thing as there's a better game than either of the other. There's a thing that you prefer. My favourite all-time faction across all of the games, as it stands right now, is Stormcast Eternals. So for me, that means Age of Sigmar is my favourite. Favourite of the two games, just because I absolutely adore the Stormcast Eternals. I also adore Space Marines, but Stormcast have very much replaced them as my favourite. I absolutely adore them. Just the whole thing.
I will just say, Ginger Steve in my chat has come out with possibly a controversial hot take. And if people don't know Ginger Steve, he's a brilliant member of the Deployment Zone DZTV community. And I had the pleasure of meeting him in person yesterday as well for the first time, which was wonderful. But Steve is good at hot takes. He's good at spicy hot takes. And he says the following, Josh, in response to this question. He says, can you scientifically say one game is more balanced compared to the other when one is played by 12-year-olds and the other one is played by my master sportsman? Is Rounders better than baseball? Nobody wins when they play Rounders because they're playing Rounders. Baseball has massive teams that win again and again. So there you go. AOS is a game played by 12-year-olds, and we're played by master sportsmen. I think is where that's going. I don't know. Steve, feel free to act this before Josh kills me.
Interesting. No, that's interesting. I would say Warhammer 40,000 is a game played by 12-year-olds that pick their ball up and go home with it.
That's being generous, mate. I'd say we're all 10-year-olds, most of us at best. I put myself in that bracket for sure.
D&D is the best, is what Rez says. Well, yeah, I mean, D&D... Can you imagine if people, I know when a new edition of D&D comes out, there are people who don't like it. So, 5th edition D&D is a lot simpler than 4th and even 3rd. 3rd edition was really bad. It was really, really complicated. And D&D is very simple. Albeit it has a lot of complexity, it is a lot simpler as a game. But can you imagine if people spent time doing competitive D&D?
I think you'll find that in a previous adventure I picked up the Cloak of Invulnerability, and the fact you have not remembered it at DM is deeply troubling to me as a member of your party, but I cannot be touched. I also have an item which allows me to cast an instant death spell on all of you, so I win.
Do you know what I think the best game of them out of them all is? The best game out of all of them is Elden Ring. So
Elden Ring, the one I haven't played yet, but I've spoken to many people who... My friend of mine at work, I was speaking to him and he was like, yeah, I was going to have a really productive weekend last weekend. And, then I started playing Elden Ring, and then it was Sunday night. And he's like, I'm pretty sure my girlfriend's mad at me. So this is what I always say to my other half, to Kelly, whenever she moans about my Warhammer. I'm like, listen, yeah. I don't know why I put this voice on. Listen, yeah. I could be doing me Warhammer, or I could be playing Elden Ring all day. You decide. I've turned into Tony Harrison from the Mighty Boosh, if anyone remembers that character reference. It's an outrage. But yes, that's what I always say to her. I'm like, it's either that or I could spend, thousands of pounds on a season ticket for football and travel and all that. But, if you like that sort of thing, do what appeals to you. For me, it's plastic soldiering.
Rich says he completed Elden Ring the other day. Well done, buddy. Did you do all of the bosses, or did you kind of stick to the main track? Because I didn't do all of them. I skipped a lot of kind of optional bosses because there just came a certain point in the game where I was like, nah, I just want to get to the end of this now.
I was going to say, as someone who's never played this, it sounded like you were just throwing a crap load of shade there, where you were just like, oh, Rich, you've completed it, but have you done all of the bosses? Or did you just take the normie route and do the main missions?
But the one I'm interested to know is if you fought Melania. If you fought Melania.
Trump's wife?
No. That was Melania. No. Melania, the Blade of Mikola. She has never known defeat. I spent a day trying to beat that boss. It took me a whole day. I didn't do anything else. On Elden Ring. I fired it up and then it was like It's like 80 plus attempts to beat it. I did beat it, but it took me over 80 attempts. Over 80 attempts. It was terrible. I hated it.
This is Reza we're talking about, and he is a man who likes a fight, whether on the tabletop or in his video gaming. So I would imagine he's gone and punched every single boss available in the face. So we can let us know. But yes, Elden Ring.
Thank you so much, Castellan, for upgrading your membership. That's very, very kind of you. Like I said, do make sure if you get on that Discord link, it should be somewhere there in the membership thing. Competitive D&D was a thing. Goodness me. Why is that a thing? Why has that ever been a thing? The Alex Beast says Dragon Cast for the win. I love the dragons, don't get me wrong, but it is just your regular Stormcast Eternal, the Liberator himself. That was what did it for me all those years ago. I mean, that's not many years ago, but when I saw the Liberators, I was like, man, and I was just like, yeah, this is what I'm here for. This is a person in full plate armor with a massive heater shield, a massive great shield and a hammer. I'm so here for this.
Thank you, Inquisitive Vex. He says, "Good evening, all. Ginger, Steve, and Dave B. Hi, Inquisitor. Thanks for joining us, Vex. We're talking about all sorts of things. We're just talking about Elden Ring, the game, which I've not played, and everyone's going to be like, "You're an idiot. You should play it." But I don't get time, so I devote it to Warhammer. But I think we've been talking about spots. We've been talking about new releases. We should talk about some of the other things that they announced, because since you and I sort of last did a Sunday show, owing to sort of me being in Norway on holiday and all sorts of other things, we haven't talked about some of the other things they've announced. And I think the next one, perhaps to carry on the theme of old stuff. Who liked the Horus Heresy trailer? Hands up in chat. Who liked the Horus Heresy? Because I was like, no, you weren't. you sod off. That's so British. Like, oh, what? It was the best day of your life. How was it? Yeah, it was alright. Yeah.
Yeah, it was right.
Yeah. On the Dolphins the other day. Magical experience. How'd you enjoy it? Yeah, it was alright. Yeah.
It was right. It was alright.
You literally, your hobby desk lifted, right, when that came on. I know it did, because I think a lot of others had the reaction. Dave B says he enjoyed it. Andrew Begg says it was K. So yeah, he's on the Brit train of, yeah, it's alright. It's alright. You're telling me that when Horus walked on screen and just said anything, you weren't like, oh.
I mean, it was alright.
No, I do, but genuinely, I don't play Heresy. I don't have a Heresy army. I've not played Heresy, but they've put some effort into that, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they do at the Open Day in May. I think it is, right?
Are you going
because,
to it?
I sort of want to. go. I want to go. Should we go? Should we go together? Go on a little trip to Warhammer World?
Should we go together on a little trip to Warhammer World? We could. We certainly could. I'm interested to see what they're going to do to the rule set, because I like it as it currently stands. It's very complicated, but I like the rule set as it stands at the moment. I'll be interested to see if they're going to massively simplify it for a kind of wider appeal. That's going to be very interesting.
Yeah.
Because,
Yeah, it's kind of 7th edition plus, isn't it? Like, it's 7th edition developments on it. Yeah.
Well, it's technically 7th edition minus and also plus at the same time. There's it's things like, and they shall know no fear as a rule doesn't really exist in Thingy, because it wouldn't make sense to. Because and they shall know no fear in 7th was basically roughly translated to and they shall know no rules. Because they weren't affected by most of the things. Like if they failed a morale check in the olden days, if you failed a morale check, you would actually have to move your unit away. You'd actually have to run away. Yeah, the Space Marines just did that, but then immediately regrouped. So you wouldn't really run the risk of them having run off the table, which a lot of other armies used to have to contend with if they had poor morale, for example. They also I think they could just choose to pass things like pinning checks and all this kind of stuff. So that's not a thing in Age of Darkness. Yeah, Age of Darkness. But it's going to be very interesting to see what they do with it. I'm very curious. I'm also curious about what the range changes are going to mean.
Yeah, well, I'd say it looks like we're going to get a lot more plastic kits. I think the people are suggesting a Leviathan, potentially a plastic Leviathan dreadnought, and there's certainly a sort of new variant of the Sicarian tank, it looks like. So that's quite cool. I mean, I'd just say Dave said, Ginger Steve said Horus Heresy trailer was great, was picking up the mother-in-law's dog's shit at the time. I got it all over my hand. Felt like the Emperor. There you go. That's what the Emperor felt like when he was dealing with Horus being a bit of a prat. And Inquisitive X says, trailer was good, although, to be honest, though, I thought Horus was actually a bad one at first. And I must admit, I think, honestly, initially, when I first saw it, I was like, okay, interesting. But I think that's just because we see Abaddon so much, right? Like, because we're used to 40k, and this is the first depiction they've ever done of Horus, sort of, with animation and the voice, sort of voiceover. They've just never done that before. So, that's pretty cool. Well, that was, good. Plus he was murdering Imperial fists, which I'm fine with, to be honest. So that's okay. Dave in my chat says, I want Abaddon to get killed in 40k. I want Abaddon to get killed and G-Dubs to do a design your own Chaos Lord on an online modifier so you can choose your own fluff. As part of Chaos Guard. Imagine Chaos Guard and Mauler Fiends or some Termies. Well, I mean, look, you can, Dave, you can design your own. There is nothing that is stopping you designing your own Chaos Lord. I mean, it's worth remembering if you want to be very narrative about it and very fluffy about it, Abaddon is obviously the most prominent of the leaders of the Chaos, the Heretic Astartes, the Chaos Space Marines, and the Forces of Chaos and the Eye of Terror. He's the one who has risen to the mantle of Horus, effectively, and is sort of blessed by the four Chaos Gods. But he's not the only one. I'd seriously recommend as well reading Talon of Horus and Black Legion if you want a little window into Abaddon's rise to power and what the Eye of Terror was like before the Black Legion sort of really existed. But a lot of that still exists. There are other very powerful Chaos Lords out there that you could make up your own. I mean, one you only have to look at. People remember Huron Blackheart. Huron Blackheart is the former chapter master of the. Is it the Astral Claws, I think was his chapter?
Yeah.
He basically became a sort of badass pirate lord in the Maelstrom. And he's like his own thing. I mean, I think he works with Abaddon, he works with the other traitors, but Huron is most definitely his own very powerful Chaos Lord. And actually looks quite similar to Abaddon. He's got a very similar, like, Talon kind of thing going on. Which is quite cool. So yeah, Dave, if you want to make up your own Chaos Lord, right, you go ahead. You can easily have a leader of a war band dedicated to a particular god. He says, but I'm lazy and I'm crap. There's a reason I call my Eldor Craft World Blue Tack. You are not crap. You have little faith in yourself. I'm sure you could come up with a really cool Chaos Lord and a really cool bit of lore for your own war band. So I wouldn't worry about it. I wouldn't worry. Never say you're crap. You're not crap, Dave. You're not. This is a positive stream. We like positivity.
We do like positivity here.
Jonathan De Silva in your chat says, Chaos Lord sounds like some Dark Angels lore. So there we go. Jonathan De Silva, you win the prize for the Dark Angels joke. I'm fine with that. If you're a Dark Angels player, you may not be fine with that. That's fine. Dave does say, I'm joking, I'm awesome. So there you go. Good. You are awesome. I believe in you. And do you know what? There you go. There's a challenge for you. Next event we go to, that's there, whether it's a DZTV thing or if you come up to London, come to Bad Moon Cafe. I want to see your Chaos Lord. I want to see your custom Chaos Lord that you've made, built, drawn, sculpted out of, well, this is white tack, but out of blue tack, right? I want to see him. I want to see it. I want to see your Chaos Lords. And if anyone else actually in chat, if anyone else in Josh's chat or my chat, if you have your own custom Chaos Warbands, please, like, DM me, drop a comment, let us know, because I think that's always cool. It's nice to see the lore that people have made up. What would you do, Josh? If you were coming up with a Chaos Warband, what would you go for? What would be your thing? What god would you follow? Or all the gods?
I feel like you've got to pick a lane, really. Eventually you'll be made to choose one.
So what would you go on then? What would you go for? What the mind of Warhipster? What are we doing chaos wise? Who's your favourite?
It's a very good question. My favourite to play with at the moment is Slanesh, but I like the idea of Tzeentch, doing something Tzeentchian. Just because, you know, they're a lot cleverer in many ways. They're the cleverest of the Chaos Gods. They have their schemers, and you know their all of their you know plans are just complex as hell. I love the idea that like they change one thing like they'll do something that might not seem like it does anything, but it won't actually be relevant for another 1,000 years. That type of thing.
They're almost too clever for their own good, though, aren't they? That's going to be that's going to be interesting. Well, I mean, my lot are my Chaos Warband are the Obsidian Hatred. I have a name for them. They are a Chaos Warband that is you know dedicated to all the gods and none of the gods. Because I quite like what Perturabo, his attitude, and Abaddon, to be fair, and Horus to some extent, which is they sort of said, well, you know, we're not going to be controlled by the gods. We're not going to worship any one god. They can come, you know, they can sort of come to us and give us the gifts. Although Perturabo, I think, may have changed attitude slightly because he is now a demon prince. We know that in the lore. He's a demon prince residing in the Eye of Terror.
He's a techno-demon prince.
He's a techno-demon prince. He's knocking out some banging tunes on his decks.
He's Moby.
Yeah, there you go. You heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen in chat. Perturabo, Primarch of the Iron Warriors, is in fact Moby. Early 2000s and late 90s techno music sensation, Moby.
Nobody listens to techno, let's go. Immediately DMCA'd.
Yes.
I don't know, it's very difficult, like...
Oh, Emily.
Emily's here. Hello, Emily. Hope you're well. Slanesh all the way. Yes.
All the way. Oh.
She is a fan of Slanesh. She's doing some Empress Children herself. They're really cool.
I got Keeper of Secrets I need to paint. If people in my stream probably see it more clearly than in yours, I'll lean back. There's a Keeper of Secrets up there. I don't know if people can see it, but I need to paint that. So, yeah.
It's a good job I've got a video for that, isn't it?
It is a good job you've got a video of that. I'm trying to get my other half to paint the Keeper of Secrets because she built him, or her, or it. She built it, and she's also reading Fear to Tread at the moment.
Kyrus the Perverse.
Kyrus the Perverse, yeah, and the Blood Angels, of course. So yeah, she's very much enjoying the lore. We've got some good answers in chat actually. So Ninja Steve says if you want to play Chaos, just wait for the rumored Angron release. I was nearly called them the Word Bearers then, and I was going to then go and sacrifice myself to Khorne, the World Eaters, who many rumours allege may be getting their own book, which would be very cool, but we shall have to see on that one. And he says, yeah, he wants to be clever when you can be hard.
That's your...
I think
that's a lifestyle
yeah, that's
choice.
There in the chat. I think Reza in the chat also agrees with Ginger Steve's position because he said, guess what god I would go for, and Reza is, if nothing else, a man of claiming skulls for the Skull Throne. Obviously, Emily's gone for Slanesh, and Mr. Watkins says, Nurgle is my homeboy. Love the old school paint schemes. Very menacing. Very menacing.
Can we talk about Lorgar for a second, says Jonathan. Got his ass handed to him for calling that Emperor God. Fast forward 10k years and he's still the bad guy.
We found the Word Bearers fan. This man, Inquisition, right here. No, you're not wrong. The Lectitio Divinitatis, the book of Lorgar, effectively, is the Bible of the Imperium, literally now. And that's one of the really interesting, fascinating things about Guilliman. Which is he comes back into a world, and here we go, Josh. This is seamless plug. Shouldn't announce it's a seamless plug, but I announced seamless plug. Codex and Coffee, the podcast which Mr. Warhipster does with the other legend, the Warhammer girl, Rachel, who was in the chat earlier. The latest episode is on Space Marines, and I'm plugging the podcast generally, but I'm also plugging this one because I'm on it, talking about Space Marine lore. And I think one of the things we did talk about, whether it made it into the episode, because as you can imagine, I can ramble for hours about various bits of Space Marine lore, was talking about when Guilliman comes back. And Guilliman, one of the big things he wrestles with, which I think makes him a really interesting character, is he wakes up in this world. He got sort of, stabbed in the neck by Fulgrim and, went to sleep or was put in stasis. And as far as he was concerned, the Imperium, having just gone through the Horus Heresy in the period of the Scouring, it was going to be the secular, the Emperor was on the Golden Throne, but it was still going to be the secular Imperium that he had fought for during the Crusade. And he wakes up and goes, hang on a minute, what do you mean Dad's a god? And then he goes and sees Dad on the Golden Throne, and then he gets confronted by the ecclesiarchy, the existence of like the Inquisition, in where it's the Ordo Hereticus, sort of from a very religious perspective, going after people. So can you imagine if you're Guilliman, you wake up and you're like, hang on a minute, what is going on here? And now you've got to deal with religiosity, and more than anyone else what Lorgar was all about because he was your brother, and you knew about the Book of Lorgar, and you knew. You sort of have much more of a knowledge than everyone else that this is where it all originally comes from. So, yeah, I don't know. Interesting one.
Certainly is.
Oh, and Rach says, I will not be editing anything you said out. That's very kind of you. Very kind of you. There's some good voiceovers.
She'll just edit everything I said out.
You'll just hear the start of your voice be like, and then it'll just cut to me and Rach. Yeah.
The Warhipster was there. Don't know what he was doing because he didn't say anything for the whole time, the whole duration. It was interesting.
I like it. Andrew makes it Zinch as well, going back to our Chaos God question, because Silver Tower got him back into the hobby, so he'll go with Zinch. It's a good choice, Zinch.
Gaunt summoner, just like me. Silver Tower's an excellent game.
Yeah. Yeah, again, never played it. I have some of the minis, weirdly, but because they were given to me by somebody, but I've never played it, Silver Tower. Emily has posed an interesting question. She says, can you imagine if Slaanesh and Khorne made up the Night of Passion? Don't know if that's the right word, but that would happen. So I'm sure there are places on the internet where people write fiction about this sort of thing, Emily, which you can go and check out. But yes, I'm sure that would be interesting. Although I just think Khorne's too angry. I don't think he could ever make up Slaanesh. And I think Slaanesh probably enjoys goading Khorne. So I don't think those two would ever really, have a more platonic relationship or even a romantic relationship. I don't think it would necessarily work for the two of them. But hey, who knows?
I think my favourite...
Your space would be broken and torn if that ever happened.
Yeah, I suspect only bad things would happen if that happened. It's one of those funny things, isn't it? Like how, Slaanesh is arguably the most powerful, despite being the youngest. Because if any of them were to win through an X... So let's say Khorne won. Khorne destroyed the mortal universe through an excess of violence and blood and skulls and this, that, and the other. It means that Slaanesh wins instead, because Slaanesh is empowered by that, which is interesting.
They all win, but then eventually die off, right? Because they need the mortal realm to keep existing to sort of fuel, particularly humanity, because the Chaos Gods are fueled particularly by the... I mean, obviously Slaanesh was born out of the Eldar, but given they're a dying race that seem hilariously numerous for a dying race. But anyway, the Chaos Gods in particular are fueled by the kind of psychic collective of humanity, their impact on the warp in particular. If they were all gone, one of them I think would have victory for a while, but then they would probably just kind of not die off, but like shrink back to what they were many millions of years ago, i.e. just like vague presences in the warp, but not really conscious of beings as they are now.
No, absolutely. That's absolutely correct.
Yeah, but yes, you. I will say actually a comment that you'll enjoy, Josh. Maybe Dave. Dave doesn't enjoy it quite so much. Josh, Dave in my chat says he said Vex to Inquisitor Vex, because Vex has a World Eaters warband, so he is potentially waiting to see what GW comes up with. He says, I got mauled by World Eaters on Saturday. Ouch! I'm having to lie face down. It was a harsh fisting, and he had a Land Raider. So that's the part you would like, Josh. Not the fisting, but the Land Raider.
Good man.
World Raider. How cool is that? That's cool.
The world is better with Land Raiders in it.
Oh, Jonathan De Silva has said an interesting thing in the chat, which links back to this quiz that happened. He said, why does everyone say there are two Eldar gods? You have Cain and Kegarak, but isn't Nurgle holding an Eldar god, and the Eldar god of the dead is just sleeping? And you are absolutely right. There is a whole pantheon of Eldar gods. There is obviously Kegarak, the laughing god, who you mentioned, who's the god of the Harlequins. Cain, or Calamench Cain, who is the god of sort of war, who has been shattered into shards by Slaanesh. Isha is the one you're thinking of. She is canonically, I believe, in the Garden of Nurgle. Again, I don't know if this is like a fantasy thing or a 40k thing, but in either one of those, and or possibly both, she is in the Garden of Nurgle, being held by Nurgle, and one of the things that he does is he tests his new plagues on Isha, because she can heal from anything. So he uses those on her to test their effectiveness, so she's permanently suffering. Again, I think it's more fantasy lore than 40k lore, but one of the things is that she whispers the cures for these things sort of through the warp to anyone that will listen. So that's how there's this kind of constant battle between Nurgle and Isha in some ways. But yes, Inquisitor Vex in my chat says absolutely right. He says only Kegarak and Isha are still alive. Yes, technically that is true. Yniad, the god of the dead, is not awake yet, or doesn't really exist. Cough. They're a lot like Slaanesh, I guess. They have to wake them up with or bring them into being. And the other gods, so Kurnos the hunter, Vol the smith, Morai Heg the crone, and is there another one I'm missing? Can't remember. People in chat correct me. They're all dead. Slaanesh ate them all, killed them all when he was born. So yeah, it didn't go too well for the Eldar, I'm afraid.
Yeah, no, he Slaanesh tried to pull that in. Slaanesh. Nurgle tried to pull that in the Mortal Realms by trying to get his hands on a Lariel, but it was the valiant efforts of the Hallowed Knights that prevented Nurgle from claiming his prize. They were able to prevent the capture of a Lariel after the burning of Ethel Weird.
Well, look, okay, we'll do a quiz. We'll do a quiz question around the around from yesterday around the Eldar gods, and I've given you most of them, possibly all of them. But which two Eldar gods, Josh? This is for you. Which two Eldar gods are responsible for the creation of the Eldar race? In their mythology. And I got this one wrong because there is one more god who I didn't name who isn't in the answer.
Isn't it like Isha and Asarion or whatever?
Ooh, you're half right. It's Isha is one. The other apparently is Kurnos the hunter, or Kernot the hunter. I think it's TH. I thought the answer was Isha and Eldenesh, because I thought that's where they got their name from. Eldenesh, Eldar, but I think Eldenesh is like the creator god. And I think he might be like Isha's like dad or something technically. So that would be very, very weird. So yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, there you go.
We've nearly finished this Grey Knight.
I know he's looking lovely, mate.
Nearly there. Just a couple of highlights.
Given we've talked about the heresy, given we've talked about the squats, we seem to be talking about new announcements tonight. I will say the one thing I am excited about as well, and you and I had a conversation about this and you were very excited about it as well. New Chaos Knights. How good does that Knight Abominant look?
It looks very good. I thought for sure you were going to tell me about the new Age of Sigmar Gurish terrain, which we have.
Oh, is that Thondia?
Yeah. Yeah.
I should talk about something Age of Sigmar, but yes, they have released a load of Thondia stuff.
I really love everything that they're bringing out. The Kronspine Incarnate is beautiful. You cannot tell me otherwise that it's not. It's the curled up dragon.
That was announced in the pre-orders this week, right? I'm gonna have a look at it.
Yeah, the Kronspine Incarnate. It's very, very cool. There's the massive skeleton of the dead beast as well, and they revealed on the stream that is 12 inches long. It's 12 inches long. That's crazy. I would happily get like 5 or 6 of them to do a Lion King style elephant graveyard.
That would be cool, actually.
I would happily do that. Hipster, on your advice, I purchased some endless spells to spice up my Farseer and Warlock Skyrunners. Excellent, that sounds good. Yeah, the endless spells, there's lots you can do with them to spice up those things. Emily says she could listen to us talk about Chaos all night. Love it. There's so much to cover with Chaos. I can't actually wait to do Codex and Coffee about Chaos. Particularly with the demons, because, you know, demons are my jam, as we all know.
You do love demon. Dave in my chat has said in response to the you can do anything with 12 inches comment that anything above 3 inches is a waste. Well, I hope it is.
Well, it puts you outside of an objective, so yeah.
Very much. Yeah, exactly, yeah, Dave. Anything above 3 inches puts you outside of an objective, mate. No one's interested in it. It puts you out of heroic intervention range as well, subject to certain special rules. So yeah. 3 inches. That's all you need.
I read a filthy rumor, actually earlier today when we were talking, Adam. Somebody has decided to spread this on the internet. I don't think it's true, but they are claiming that Slaanesh in their new codex, Slaanesh demons, will not only have advance and charge, but they will also have 6-inch heroic interventions, and they'll still continue to fight first, which is just.
So I to be fair, like I've heard on the Chaos Demons Codex from people I know who are more familiar with it than I am, or more familiar with what's going on as far as rumours. So nothing concrete, but everything that I've heard is people going, "Oh, Chaos Demons, oh." That would not surprise me. I've not heard that one, but that would not surprise me if that's in there somewhere. If that's even if it's like a draft, that was something they threw in, because that would be the kind of thing they would do. So we're all scared of Harlequins right now in the 40k universe, and then Chaos Demons are going to come out, and it's going to be like, oh. And you are just going to sit there going, rah! As like the only person who's been consistently playing Chaos Demons at competitive events are going to be like, see, I told you. Hold on to your.
I'm going to be a little bit upset though if it turns out that by the end of this year, the 3 armies that I have built as my three armies for over the past sort of year or so will be Chaos Demons, and they're top of the meta, Adeptus Custodes, and they are top of the meta, and Tau, and who are now top of the meta. I will look like the filthiest player out there. I'll have to put it all in a box and just play with my Blood Angels until something happens to them.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you know what we could do? We could always play the new Tempest of War cards, which are designed to sort of make things a bit more, do match play, but keep it a little bit more interesting and varied and random. So I'm definitely going to come down to yours, and we can have a game on Tempest of War.
Yeah, we need to do some.
We're playing with it as well.
We need to do some more battle reports this year.
We do. Would people be interested in seeing more battle reports? Because we got one. We did one, Josh and I, where we did can Be'lakor, who would win out of Be'lakor or roughly 500 points of Sisters of Battle. And you should watch that video on Warhipster on YouTube, because it is quite fun. We had great fun making that video because it was ludicrous.
It was great fun. It was great fun. It was. The thing that I think would be really funny now is if because I now know that book really well. If we were to play that same game back again, I was actually able to make up the points, because you had about 600 points, didn't you?
Yeah, it was roughly 600 to get the patrol together. Yeah.
So I think if I could make up the points, I think I would trash you each time now.
Oh, you would. Well, also to be fair, because all the sisters' points have gone up.
Yeah.
So you'd lose, like, I wouldn't be able to bring anything near what I did. But yeah, no, that was good. What we can do is we can do Be'lakor versus the souped up Hive Tyrant. I think Be'lakor would still win. But if the Hive Tyrant swings first, he can do a lot.
Yeah.
Put it that way.
You ignore invulnerable saves now, right?
No, he doesn't ignore invulnerable saves. He does have a relic which allows him to, means you cannot use abilities which allow you to reduce damage. So no feel, no pains. And it also does wound roll, on a successful wound roll, not a successful wound roll of a 6, which is what I thought it was originally. On a successful wound roll, you take 1 mortal wound in addition to any other damage. So it can be quite spicy. Should we say that?
Sounds spicy.
I'd like to do that. Yeah. Yeah, I'd like to do a live game. That'd be fun. We could do a live streaming battle report. I mean, I can just about manage to get a stream going on my own channel, so, you know, why not? Let's go, let's aim high. Let's become the new Tabletop Titans. I'll put on a sweater vest. Brian has disappeared off Tabletop Titans because he's off working hard, running his own business. But I will be the new Brian Pullen, but like way less skilled and way less American. Canadian. Brian is Canadian, and pop on a sweater vest to represent the love of Brian Pullen.
We could probably just about manage a live game. I think I would need to, and as you know, as I'm sure people are aware by now, I am currently doing some fundraising to try and kind of be able to do things like that, because at the moment I just could not handle the processing power that would be required to do a live streaming game.
It would actually catch fire and explode.
Yes.
I've seen it working hard. So yeah, if you by the way, that's the other thing. Sorry, while we're here, we must do this. I'll do it in the Bob Geldof style, which is if you support Warhipster for just £1, you can go and give him. Well, don't just give £1, maybe give more than that. But you can go and support Warhipster to develop the channel and have new technology. You can't even film properly at the moment, so just go and donate. That was a terrible Bob Geldof impression. That was sort of vaguely even Northern Irish. Chewie's in your chat, and he's going to be like, "What is wrong with this man?" But no, do go and support Josh's. Josh's campaign to raise some money so we can have more Warhipster content and more sort of high quality video content of painting. And also, yes, we can get maybe battle reports going as well. And actually, on that subject, Reza, yeah, Chewie just says that was a Northern Irish accent. Lol. Yeah, absolutely right. It wasn't. It was my terrible attempt at this time of night. But Reza says he would be down to play, and Mr. Quatkin says if he needs more armies and players, I'll happily come down and film a game or two. And Dave in my chat has said I'd like to see a 4-way game, but each player goes out of the room to talk through their cunning plan to stab each other in the back, etc. Loser gets some form of funny penalty. So, Reza, Mr. Quatkin Gaming, Mr. Warhipster, are you up for the challenge? I challenge you all right now.
See, I really like that. What was it called? Triumph and Treachery. That was the rules for it. Triumph and Treachery. I love Triumph and Treachery because it's flipping hilarious. Especially when you just go, yeah, I'm just going to turn on you now.
Yeah. Just yes. Sorry, I'm betraying you now. Just like, wait, you're playing Chaos. You're a word bearer. Curse your inevitable betrayal.
Hello, Brother Ferris. I'm very well, thank you. How are you, sir? I hope you're very well. We should each build a Chaos Space Marine warband. Can I just keep my... Can I just be the demons?
I mean, I'm down for this because I turned around to Miss Dempsey at DempseyCon the other day and said... yesterday and said, when are we getting the new Champion of Chaos? Because he did a very good video series with Mr. Winter's SEO called Champion of Chaos, where the two of them duked it out to see who would become the Champion of Chaos with his World Eaters Warband, Liam's one, and Mr. Winters was using his Death Guard. Now I've got Death Guard, Mr. Gwatkin has Death Guard. I'm sure we could cobble together some other Chaos Marine factions, but I do like the idea of building a Chaos Space Marine warband, and we can be sort of mainly dedicated to one god each. You could do Zeke.
Can I
do your Zeke?
Can I be dedicated to Niffle?
Niffle. I want to be dedicated to Malice, the 5th Chaos God that was sort of in the lore for a while and then disappeared.
I believe Malice is now the term for the old world in Age of Sigmar.
Really? There we go. He lives on in the universe of Age of Sigmar. Well, the old world, I guess.
Brother Ferris says, also great lately. I was a bit worried about you, or rather your mental health, but that's great to hear you're doing better. I am doing better, yeah. I was very, very unwell, and I was very behind on staying up to date with making sure that I had all my videos coming out on time, which is why I needed that week to reset, because that's the first time in about 2 years that at least a year, that we didn't do a video on a Thursday and a video on a Sunday, which I think is a pretty good run. But yeah, I was just very ill. I had a number of things go wrong at once. It was just too much. And that was part of the reason why I did that I needed to take that week off, but also, it gave me a lot of time during then to think, what can I do to take this whole thing further and easier, because part of the stress was the total the total technological collapse that I had for a week, which I talked about in the video that I put up very recently. And yeah, it was tough. It was really tough. It was a really tough week before that, and during that week it was very tough as well, because I hold myself to an incredibly high standard, and I hate to disappoint anybody, which sounds silly, because everyone at the time said, we don't need you to make content, we just need you to keep being around, and then to make it later. If you can't do it now, do it now. But part of me was like, but I'm letting someone down if I do that. And it was a quite interesting lesson, I think, for me, in order to be able to kind of silence that voice of, I should be doing this thing, even though I was physically unable to do it. And then that was creating a mental blocker, which was it was a very interesting week, philosophically and mentally. But I'm much better now. I'm pretty much 100% healthy. Every so often I will just cough. It's like a kind of residual from then, and then I just move on. But I'm pretty much 100% there. And so far we've raised a ton of cash, and we talked about this on stream on Wednesday, but this now being the new kind of studio setup, that's down to that. There's just a couple of like big ticket technological pieces that we're fundraising for. One of the things I did mention on Wednesday was that we're going to be doing a raffle. It is a massive raffle. There is not one prize. There is not two prizes. There are 3 prizes. 3 prizes up for grabs. That video, theoretically, announcing it and launching it should be tomorrow. So do keep an eye out for that, because, if you want to be within a chance to win some enormous prizes, and I'm not kidding, these things are... There is a huge pile of plastic sprues down here to my left. That's one of the prizes. And you also have the chance with that raffle to win some Warhipster history. It's in the cabinet, sort of on this shelf. It's all on that shelf just there. So do keep an eye out for that. And yeah, but thank you so much for checking in. I was in a very, very bad place, and I'm in a very good place now. So I'm very happy and very much back to work. So I think an important thing to say at this point would be to say thank you so much for all the support, and thank you so much for checking in on me. It really does mean the world, and it is that kind of care from you guys that makes it worthwhile, but also it's what kind of makes it so that I can keep going, if you see what I mean. That is just very sustaining, and I will keep going for as long as I possibly can, doing bigger and better things. Like the other thing I talked about on Wednesday, which is doing a 24-hour live stream to paint a Sylvaneth army. Yeah, that one's going to be mad. I don't know if the lead will reach that far. It is a huge pile of boxes. I was looking at it again just then, and I was like, oh, that's actually there's a lot of toys there.
You got 20. I've seen you. You are productive. We will get through. And me and Reza will come down. We will come down and hang out and do some painting alongside you, or hang out with you while you're doing the 24 hours. Because I think it's a brilliant little project, actually, and it'll be very interesting to see what you can do.
43 models.
You are gonna upset people though, because at the end of it, you're gonna have this wonderful contrast army. People will be like, hang on a minute, you painted that in 24 hours, and I spent ages on this and it looks like trash. No, I'm kidding. But it'll be very cool to see what you can produce. And I'll echo your comments actually on, obviously we talk outside of the world of social media and YouTube and stuff, and when you were in a bit of a bad place, obviously that was awful, and it's so good to see you back to your usual self, and again, to you guys in the community, like myself, I consider myself part of the Warhipster community as well. You're the reason that we do this, and we do these streams. We like doing it to chat to you guys and people in my chat as well. Exactly the same. You are the reason we do it, because it's brilliant. It's the best part of the hobby. Rolling dice, stuff, fun. It's what I enjoy. But honestly, just chatting with people about 40k and any old nonsense the best bit of this hobby by a mile. And I've met, I met Josh obviously through Warhammer. I met Rich through Warhammer, and Rachel as well, Warhammer Girl, and Ed Sandman, Quipster, my friend Charles, who runs Battlefield Birmingham. I've met so many awesome people. And, yesterday at DempseyCon was another example of that. Met lots of people who I've spoken to on Discord and stuff like that, but actually got to talk to in person. Ginger Steve, Dave, Dats and Dez, Seb, Eddie, like a whole bunch of people, and it was awesome. It was absolutely awesome. And I only played one game the whole day. We just stood around chatting about 40k. It was brilliant. So you guys are absolute legends, all of you.
I completely agree with that. Everyone's being really lovely in the chat. You guys,
I know. Yeah.
So nice. Alvaro El Blanco asks, what paint/process do you use for the Grey Knight silver armor? This one looks amazing. It is a layer. So sprayed grey seer. You then cover the layer, cover the armor in Grey Knight steel. You then cover the Grey Knight steel in Space Wolves Grey. You then relayer the armor, avoiding the recesses, with Iron Hand steel. And then, what I haven't done yet, is highlight the armor with Stormhost silver, and you are done. This is an example of a finished model with that recipe. There it is. So there you go, a finished model with that exact recipe, or one that's a little bit more comparable. This one. This little chappy, but that's how you do it. It's nice and simple, a nice and simple recipe, and it looks really effective. If you want, there will be 2 videos on this week, so you'll be able to see it in practice, Alvaro. But if you want to see a preview of it, you can check out the last Wednesday Warhipster stream, and you'll be able to see me doing it early, and then you'll get the video this week. Chewy says, would you like me to be a dick to balance things out?
I mean, if you want, I guess. We like it when you're nice to you, because otherwise what we'll do next time you send something to A Tale of Many Warhipsters, which, by the way, you should all go and watch, because it's cool and you get to see what some of the amazing stuff that people in the hobby are submitting. And also, if you haven't submitted stuff to A Tale of Many Warhipsters, although it's going to mean Josh has to do more editing and stitch more pictures together, so he's like, stop talking, Adam, you bastard. Check out Tale of Many Warhipsters on his channel, and do send in your painted items to be included, because we love discussing them. Except Chewy's stuff. Chewy's stuff's rubbish. It's not. It's really good. So I can't even, I have to be honest. I will say, in my chat, like this, you've got lovely hobby positivity. I can see Philip saying we get him through the week, which is incredibly kind of you, Philip. That's genuinely lovely. But in my chat, I've got Castellan challenging me to a game. He's challenging everyone. He's challenging me. He's challenging Dave. Are you challenging Warhipster as well, Kaz? He's just saying I'll take it on. He's calling me 6-minute 40k. It's not even accurate. Most of my videos are probably like 10 minutes because I'm rubbish at keeping to my name, which is actually a whole nother discussion which I need to have separately about this channel. I do try and keep to 5 minutes, but so there's a lot to talk about 40k. So yeah, Dave says, oh, it'll be 2-minute 40k. That's how long I'll last. Right, Josh has played me. Reza has played me. If you boys think you can bring the thunder, let's go. Let's go. Because they've played me. They've seen what I will do to their armies.
Well, you and I drew.
Yeah, that's true. We did. But that was because we both picked stupid secondaries because we fancied a laugh.
Yeah. I've got...
And also, that's called me Minuteman. Yeah, mate. Yeah, 1 minute to beat you. That's all I need. 1 minute.
He's bringing such hardcore energy. I've got 2 things in my chat over here. We've got Jonathan, otherwise known as Mr. Bolt Rifles, as you know. It's been a while, Mr. Hipster, but can you describe the colour of the clothes you're wearing in Citadel paint names? Yes, I can. This right here is a nice and simple Team Gecko t-shirt. Fun at all costs is what the FAAC stands for. This right here is Corax White. Nice and simple. It is a black t-shirt, so you could go with an Abaddon black or a Corvus black, depends on your choices, or indeed you could use one of the many recipes for black that I have. It's quite a cold black, so I would recommend doing something like Basilicanum Grey followed by Black Templar. Now, the other clothes that I am wearing some sort of dark camouflage jogging bottoms. Now, these would be quite difficult to do with contrast paints. We've got Basilicanum Grey on there and we've got Black Templar, but You could also do this as Corvus Black, and you could do this as Mechanicus Standard Grey. That would be all of the clothes that I'm wearing. How would you describe the clothes that you're wearing in just a second, Adam, in terms of your Citadel paints? But Chewy has balanced out the chat for us. He said, "Josh, I mock your value system. You also appear foolish in the eyes of others." Little Simpsons reference for you. Thank you very much for all that.
Before we do my clothes, I will say the challenge is going. This is great. We've got like cross-channel, cross-chat challenges because Mr. Bolt Rifles, Mr. Jonathan De Silva, has said if that person in your chat is throwing down the challenge, this is you, Kaz, right? Mr. Castellan. Yeah, he's also in that chat as well, so he can come challenge you directly. He says, please tell him me, brackets Bolt Rifles, is more than happy to pick up that challenge. So there we go. There we go.
I might have just accidentally put my hip out, lifting up my leg like that.
Your leg. This is why you need to do squat. This is why squat goals are a thing.
Oh, yeah,
so that your hip.
Let me just
those squats I did at the start of the stream. Like all two of them. There was a reason for that.
I'll do what is known as a painter's squat. So what you do is you grab, if you're in an office chair like I am now, you grab your little altitude handle and you just very slowly go down, and then you just bring it back up. This is a new chair. Right,
this is a new chair, so I have no guarantees whether this will. Well, I don't even know where the things are. This was like my birthday present from my wonderful other half. It's like a gaming chair, and it's got a thing on it somewhere. Here it is. Right, I'll try it. I'm probably about to drop off camera, so goodbye, everyone. There you go. And now I need to stand up again. This is going to be interesting.
This is where we find out Adam's not wearing any trousers.
Ta-da. No, I only wear jean shorts. I actually do all my streams in jorts. I'm actually a never. Nice little Arrested Development reference for anyone who's seen that.
Philip says,
maybe find out what I'm up against. He says, if you can actually be a borrowed Titan meta, bring your true army. So I may be up against the Titan, which is going to be fun.
It's funny because I think a lot of I was thinking about this the other day. A lot of the strongest armies in the game right now would absolutely fall apart like wet paper if they had to fight a Titan. Whereas that was not the case in 8th edition.
Yes.
Because lots of people bought a lot of anti-tank in 8th edition. Because, you needed to. Whereas 9th edition is not a tank meta. So, even with dealing with something like the Void Weaver spam, at the moment you wouldn't need to bring tons of las cannons. You just need tons and tons of strength 6. And a lot of strength 6. Because, of all the -1s and all that kind of stuff to hit. But Bolt Rifles laughs in haywire. Yes. Titans are a little more tricky to tackle with their void shields and stuff like that. But having played against one once, it was a lot of fun, and I got bullied.
I like it. And Mr. Watkins said, maybe you should put together 2,000 points of salamanders for the 24-hour challenge. Not sure you can paint as fast as Josh. And Dave has said in my chat, I'll tell you what's scary, forget Titans, Wraithguard. New Eldari book has some spice. Josh and I have already talked about that, I think, on one of the previous Sunday shows.
Phantom Titans.
Now, Phantom Titans. Ooh. Actually, someone I speak to at DempseyCon is doing a commission, and he's got he's a commission painter like yourself, Josh, and he's got 3 Phantom Titans and 2 Revenant Titans he's doing at the moment, which he said, he's got to assemble all those and paint them, which is going to be absolutely very interesting on the scale of Titans. But I was going to say, it is unfortunately heading for 20 past 10, and we're on a school night. And moreover, full disclosure, my wonderful, wonderful other half volunteers to help vulnerable women around with issues around pregnancy and birth, and she attended the birth at about 3 in the morning last night of one of the women she supports. So she got no sleep last night. So you may have seen the door just sort of open in the back of my stream there. She just came in to ask, am I going to be done soon, because she would quite like to actually get some sleep. So given that she is offsetting my moral decrepitude by being a wonderful human being and helping people out, people who really need the help as well. I was going to say, if you are in London, do check out Women's Health and Family Services and Maternity Mates. They're the services she works for, and they are awesome. They support people, so if you are into that sort of thing, please do support them generously. But yeah, I think we will have to sort of head towards an end there, if that's okay.
That's all right. That's all right by me. I'm I'm nearly done with this guy. A couple of highlights left to go. So yeah, should be done by tomorrow, really.
So I think all that is really left to say is, first of all, Kaz, bring it on. Let's go, right? Bolt Rifles is in, I'm in, Gorkin's in, Dave's in, Josh is in, Rez is in, we're all in. Let's go, right? Second of all, you are all wonderful, and thank you for joining us tonight. It's been great fun to hear your suggestions. And Mr. Boob, I will DM you separately because I said you would win a prize and you have won a prize, and I will sort that out with you. I'll do that on Instagram, I think. And yeah, from me, I guess, for people who are in Josh's chat, please come over to youtube.com/5minute40k. Consider a like, consider a subscribe. I do little videos on Warhammer, on 40k, on lore, on rules, etc. And for those of you that are in my chat that haven't done it already, please go and check out youtube.com/Warhipster to see Josh's amazing painting tutorials and other general amazing content, obviously featuring the legend that is Josh. And again, please like, subscribe, and please consider generously supporting Josh's campaign to improve his setup so that he can do even more of the amazing work that he already does.
That's very, very kind of you. I don't have much else to add. Other than just, thank you so much for hanging out. It's been a great stream. It's always a great stream. I will be back on Wednesday with another stream, as per usual, doing the live hobby hangout. I suspect by then we will be building shining spears, or maybe even painting one. It depends how productive I am over the next 48 hours. We'll also have a painting video, as I've already talked about, painting video on Thursday, painting video on Saturday, and we should have Codex and Coffee out on Friday as well, so you can hear Adam, Rachel and I talking about Space Marines, or trying to cover the entire history of the Space Marines in all of that time. So do check that out on Instagram and subscribe to us wherever you are on your favourite podcast areas. And I thank you so much for hanging out. We will see you next time on the next Sunday show, and I will see you all this week. So thank you very much for watching. Happy wargaming, everybody. You guys are the best community on the internet by far, and I will see you next week.
Bye guys, happy wargaming.